Hello everyone, I'm Destiny, and today we'll be going over Gilgamesh's kit, Eidolons, team synergies, builds, and whether or not you should get him for free. Gilgamesh is a lightning destruction character, and he revolves around his interest mechanic and being able to unleash a joint follow-up attack with Saber, similar to Rin and Archer, which we'll discuss shortly. Starting off with his interest mechanic, depending on how many points of interest Gilgamesh has, this will increase his speed and crit damage. For each point of interest in possession, his speed will increase by 10%, and for his crit damage, for every 1 point of interest gained by Gilgamesh, this will increase his crit damage by 25%. This can also stack up to 6 times, so you can get an extra 150 crit damage. As for how Gilgamesh will gain interest, he will gain 1 point of interest when allies take action, 2 additional points of interest when allies use their ultimates, or when Gilgamesh uses his ultimate, which will also gain him 2 points of interest. On top of Gilgamesh gaining interest when allies use their ultimate, he will also gain King's Burden. This will increase Gilgamesh's ultimate damage dealt by 40% for 3 turns, and he'll also be able to regenerate a fixed amount of energy equal to 30% of the energy consumed this time. This will greatly help with Gilgamesh getting more energy for his own ultimate, and this is very beneficial as Gilgamesh has a huge ultimate cost of 360. As a quick example, let's say a character like Saber used her ultimate. 30% of a 360 ultimate from Saber would be 108 energy for Gilgamesh. Additionally, once Gilgamesh reaches 10 points of interest for the first time, he'll enter the interest peak state, and in this state, he can only use his skill for the entire battle, and after using his skill, interest will reset. Speaking of his skill will grant him King's Acknowledgement, which will allow Gilgamesh to ignore enemy defenses by 30% when dealing damage, lasting for 3 turns. His skill will also deal lightning damage to one designated enemy and adjacents. The defense ignore is great for Gilgamesh's damage output, as it'll not only further increase his skill damage, but his ultimate damage as well, and this can further be amplified with allies who further reduce enemies' defenses. For example, using Ashveil and Mortenax Blade. As for Gilgamesh's ultimate, he will deal damage onto all enemies and then additionally deal 10 instances of damage to one random enemy. His ultimate will be a huge source of his damage output, and having allies who can use their ultimates often assists with getting Gilgamesh more energy for him to use his ultimate. Now, as for his joint follow-up attack with Saber, whenever Gilgamesh or Saber attack enemies, they'll accumulate 1 attack tally. And after either character attacks, if the attack tally reaches 8, Gilgamesh and Saber will launch a joint follow-up attack, dealing damage onto all enemies. And from there, Gilgamesh will gain 3 interest, Saber will regenerate a fixed 120 energy, and the damage dealt when she uses her next ultimate becomes 200% of the original damage. After the joint follow-up attack, the accumulated attack tally will reset, so you will need to get a tally of 8 once again to launch another joint follow-up attack with Gilgamesh and Saber. This provides a very special synergy with Saber in particular, allowing you to deal more damage onto enemies and provide Saber with more energy and buffs. Additionally, Gilgamesh will be able to increase the attack and crit damage of allies by 20% while on the field as well. And if the allies' max energy exceeds 140, for every 1 excess point of max energy, their attack and crit damage will additionally increase by 1%, up to a maximum of 100%. So if an ally has 240 energy or more, they'll get the full crit damage boost from this trace. And now that we've gone over Gilgamesh's kit, let's go over his Eidolons. His E1 gives the defense ignore from King's Acknowledgement to the entire team, and now Gilgamesh gets extra perks such as the buff increasing his attack by 60% and additionally regenerating a fixed 40 energy when using his skill. This Eidolon is great for increasing the damage output of the entire team, as now they'll all be able to take advantage of the 30% defense ignore, and this will also further amplify Gilgamesh's own damage output through the additional attack buff, and being able to regenerate more energy when using his skill will be great for using his ultimate sooner. As for E2, when entering combat, Gilgamesh will gain 5 interests, and when using his ultimate, he'll additionally gain 5 interests as well. The damage multiplier of his skill against the primary target will also increase by 100%, and the damage multiplier against adjacent targets will increase by 50%. This Eidolon will further increase Gilgamesh's damage output with his skill, and on top of that allows him to gain more interest, which is beneficial for the speed buffs that he'll be able to get depending on how much interest he has. His E4 will boost his energy regeneration rate by 20%, and as for E6, it'll increase the bounce damage multiplier of his ultimate by 80%. He'll be able to increase all allies' ult-type res pen by 20%, and when a teammate uses their ultimate, Gilgamesh will now gain 1 point of Golden Rule, and he can hold up to 3 points. Then, when Gilgamesh uses his ultimate, he'll consume all Golden Rule points, and each point of Golden Rule consumed increases the crit damage for his ultimate damage dealt by 100%. So this E6 will be great for increasing his personal damage output with his ultimate, as well as also being able to provide a buff for the rest of the team, being the ult-type res pen. And now when it comes to team synergies, there are multiple options you can go with. When it comes to Gilgamesh and Saber, he'll be able to provide Saber with the attack buffs, crit damage buffs, the joint follow-up attack, which will be huge for being able to deal even more damage onto enemies, as well as giving Saber more energy and boosting her next ultimate's damage. Gilgamesh will be one of Saber's new best partners. For the third slot of the team, you can use another support and then a sustain of choice. Great support options you can consider can be characters that provide buffs or debuffs that both Saber and Gilgamesh can benefit from. For example, Mortenax Blade will be able to reduce all enemies' defenses, inflict vulnerability onto enemies, and can benefit both Gilgamesh and Saber's damage output. You can use Tribi in this slot to provide ult-type res pen for both Gilgamesh and Saber, as well as inflicting a vulnerability debuff onto enemies when the zone from her ultimate is active. There's also Cypher, who can inflict vulnerability debuffs onto enemies, record the damage being dealt, to deal considerable damage herself with her ultimate, and depending on what Lycone you use, she can further debuff enemies. Ruan Mei can provide speed, damage boost, ult-type res pen. If you have her E1, then 20% defense ignore as well. You can use Welt, as he can inflict the weightless debuff onto enemies with his ultimate, which will reduce enemies' defenses, and both Saber and Gilgamesh can take advantage of this to deal more damage onto enemies. And he'll also be able to boost the damage dealt by allies when they attack enemies afflicted with weightless, so Gilgamesh and Saber will deal more damage from that as well. And if you do have E4 Welt, he'll also be able to reduce enemies' ult-type resistance. You can use Romer's Trailblazer as a free-to-play character option for their true damage buff from M support. There is Sunday, who can provide more crit rate, crit damage, and energy for an ally, and so on. Overall, for the third slot, I would try to go with a support that further amplifies Gilgamesh and Saber's damage output, with one of the strongest options on release being Mortenax Blade. Now, as for the last slot, one of the best options will be Huohuo for Gilgamesh teams. Huohuo will be able to provide healing, cleansing, and one of the most important benefits being the energy from her ultimate. As when Huohuo uses her ultimate, she'll give energy for all allies, and this benefits Gilgamesh's huge ultimate cost and helps the rest of the team use their ultimates sooner, which, as mentioned, Gilgamesh will get 30% of the energy consumed when allies use their ultimate, so this will result in even more energy for Gilgamesh. As a result, Huohuo is one of the best sustain options you can use on a Gilgamesh team. Now, when it comes to using Gilgamesh without Saber, one of Gilgamesh's best teams will be him alongside Ashveil, Mortenax Blade, and Huohuo once again. Gilgamesh will benefit from the defense shred from both Ashveil and Mortenax Blade, highly benefiting his damage output, as Ashveil will be able to reduce enemies' defenses by 40%, Mortenax Blade will be able to reduce enemies' defenses by 30%, and Gilgamesh also is going to be able to ignore 30% of enemies' defenses with the buff from his skill. So with all of that in total, Gilgamesh will actually have 100% defense ignore with this team. And if you did hypothetically get his E1, then this additional 30% will also benefit Ashveil and Blade. And as for the other benefits of this particular team, Ashveil and Blade are also a strong duo with one another due to their frequent attacks, being able to help with each other's ultimates, and their debuffs further amplifying their damage output. Ashveil benefits from the frequent attacks from Blade to gain more energy for his ultimate, and Blade benefits from Ashveil's follow-ups to gain more charge and attack enemies more often. Huohuo works well as a final slot here, as she's able to give more energy for Gilgamesh, Ashveil, and Blade, helping them use their ultimates sooner. If you don't have both Ashveil and Blade though, you can consider using an alternative support for the third slot. There's also the option for this particular team of going sustainless and having another support for the final slot, for example, using Gilgamesh, Ashveil, Mortenax Blade, and Tribby. There's also the option of doing a hypercarry Gilgamesh, where you are using him alongside 2 supports and Huahua, but I do personally prefer either using him with Saber or using him alongside Ashveil and Blade. And now that we've gone over team synergies for Gilgamesh, let's go over builds. For his relics, you can go with Scholar Lost in the Erudition, Eagle of Twilight Line, or Genius of Brilliant Stars. Although with Genius of Brilliant Stars, do keep in mind if you are using Gilgamesh with Mortenax Blade and Ashveil, with their defense reduction debuffs and the defense ignore from Gilgamesh giving himself the King's Acknowledgement buff, you will overcap on defense shred, so you would want to use a different relic set if you're paired with Mortenax Blade and Ashveil. As for planar sets, you can use the new Cosmic Science planar set, but if you do not have this, other planars you can consider using in the meantime could be City of Converging Stars for the team-wide buff, Narasel Sado, Isamo if with Saber, and so on. Now for main stats, for the body you can go with crit rate or crit damage, although I definitely prefer crit rate as Gilgamesh is able to buff his own crit damage, and you'll want to aim for as close as possible to 100% crit rate within battle as you can. You can use speed or attack boots, lightning or attack orb with a preference for lightning orb, and attack or energy rope. I personally prefer attack rope though, just due to the fact that the energy that Gilgamesh does gain when allies use their ultimates is fixed. It's a fixed 30% of the energy consumed. Now as for light cone options, you can use Gilgamesh's signature, a Thankless Coronation, a Trial of Bygone Blood on the Fall of an Aeon, a Secret Vow, and more. And now you may be wondering, should you pick the free Archer or the free Gilgamesh? Now between both of these options, if you do plan to pick up Ren, then I would definitely advise more so for Archer. But if Saber is one of your favorite characters, Gilgamesh will be able to provide a very nice upgrade for her, especially when it comes to the buffs he'll be able to provide, his damage output, the joint follow-up attack, and so on. So for those that do main Saber or just want to play their Saber team more, Gilgamesh can definitely be worthwhile to upgrade your Saber team, but generally speaking, I would say most players should consider Archer first if you don't have him, or once again, if you are picking up Ren. I'd love to know who you are picking for free though, and lastly, if you did enjoy today's video, consider subscribing to see some more content from me, leave a like to support today's video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.